Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 700 Club. Thank you for joining us today. A ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has ended the heaviest fighting since 2014. So why are the Palestinians claiming victory in the name of a new Palestine? And why do most Israelis say the ceasefire came too soon? Chris Mitchell brings us this look at the aftermath of the brutal battle and what comes next.
In 11 days, Hamas fired more than 4,000 rockets into south and central Israel that sent millions of Israelis running for shelter. In response, Israel launched a massive and surgical bombing campaign to stop those rockets. Despite devastating damage to its military infrastructure, Hamas and its supporters took to the streets and declared victory.
Netanyahu, the Zionist enemy, and his army said that they would destroy the tunnels above our resistance. And I tell him today that our fighters are now striding proudly in the tunnels.
Iran supplied many of the rockets to Hamas, and in Tehran, the head of Iran's Revolutionary Guard boasted a new Palestine has emerged. In a live address, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the nation,
"The only thing that leads me in making decisions is the security and safety of the Israeli people. If there was a need to enter Gaza with ground troops, we would have done it, but I believed we could accomplish our goals without doing so."
U.S. President Joe Biden pressured Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to stop the fighting.
I commended him for the decision to bring the current hostilities to a close within less than 11 days. I also emphasize what I've said throughout this conflict. The United States fully supports Israel's right to defend itself.
Yet in Israel, nearly three-quarters of Israelis felt the ceasefire came too soon, without eliminating Hamas's ability to wage war. Hamas's charter calls for the destruction of Israel, and Islamic expert Dr. Mordecai Kadar told CBN News that for Hamas, the 11-day conflict was a jihad, a holy war, and Israel was on the front lines. Kadar says while the West may look on this as a ceasefire, Hamas sees this through the eyes of the Arabic concept of hudna.
Means a temporary ceasefire, which is used by the jihadists in order not to start a course of peace, but in order to regain his power, in order to have a better jihad in the next phase.
Israeli leaders now go back to trying to form a government. Even though most Israelis felt the war ended too soon, many approve of how Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu handled the crisis. So he may yet survive the challenge to his leadership. And it's possible Israelis will also end up heading to the polls once again, the fifth time in just more than 2 years. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
So the term being used is temporary ceasefire. Let's not stop praying for Israel at this point, feeling like somehow this has all been quelled. I mean, it's a temporary ceasefire, and on top of that, there's so much confusion politically. It's an opportunity for us to pray, to ask God to intervene in the midst of all of this, to see change, to see peace come to Jerusalem. Well, here at home, Republicans strongly supported Israel during its fight with Hamas, but many of them on Capitol Hill are growing concerned about the weakening Democratic support for the Jewish state. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Terry. For decades, the Democratic Party has been a champion of Israel, but the party support has begun to erode in recent years. Several Republican senators criticized congressional Democrats this week for a lack of support for Israel during the fight with Hamas. In the meantime, some Democrats are taking a stand against the Jewish state. CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson has that story.
Lawmakers here have historically been unified in their support for Israel. Now, Republicans say they're concerned with the growth of anti-Israel rhetoric from their Democratic colleagues.
Israel's a democracy. Hamas is a terrorist group.
But not all lawmakers agree.
Well, I think the squad used to be a fringe element of the Democratic Party when it comes to Israel. Probably still are. But more and more Democrats like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Chris Murphy are openly siding with this moral equivalency argument that there's problems on both sides.
Senator Lindsey Graham tells CBN News he's shocked by the number of Democrats reluctant to firmly stand with Israel.
When the Iranians and Hamas hear Democratic members of Congress and the Senate basically seeing no difference between Israel and Hamas, it only incentivized more violence.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell adds when it comes to Israel and Hamas, they play by very different rules.
When Israel strikes, for example, they call the building and say, please get out of the building because we're about to attack it in order to minimize civilian casualties. Hamas is lobbing rockets into Israel to kill civilians. There is no moral equivalency here.
Both senators support Israel defending itself. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who has Palestinian relatives in the West Bank, confronted President Biden Tuesday in Michigan over his support for Israel, reportedly sharing a message similar to her recent House speech.
As long as the message from Washington is that our military support for Israel is unconditional, Netanyahu's extremism, right-wing government will continue to expand settlements, continue to demolish homes, and continue to make the prospects for peace impossible.
The White House announced Wednesday President Biden spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu.
The president conveyed to the Prime Minister that he expected a significant de-escalation today on the path to a ceasefire.
Graham described Biden's Israel response as uneven and also criticized his plans to rejoin the Iran nuclear deal.
Why would you go back into a nuclear deal with the largest state sponsor of terrorism?
Pointing to Iran's role in the current attacks on Israel.
Without Iran's support for Hamas, there would be no 3,500 rockets.
As the situation continues in Israel, Senate Republicans agreed that until Hamas stops targeting Israeli civilians, there should be no ceasefire. Reporting from Capitol Hill, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Abigail. While Islamic groups from Gaza fired rockets in Israel in recent days, another battle took place online when Islamic groups attacked one of the largest Christian pages on Facebook that brought millions of Christians together to pray for Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. Here again, Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem.
The Jerusalem Prayer Team, established nearly 20 years ago with a reported nearly 77 million followers on Facebook, saw it suddenly shut down. Mike Evans tells CBN News an anti-Semitic campaign of hate targeted the Facebook page.
An organized Islamic campaign coming out of Pakistan, Indonesia, and Turkey targeted our site with over 1 million comments. So Facebook, rather than contact Bible believers and find out the truth, they responded to radical Islamic 911 would-bes and pulled us down.
The cyber campaign happened in the middle of the team's prayer time during the conflict between Hamas and Israel.
We've been praying for peace. We've been praying for God to protect Israel. We've been praying for peace in Jerusalem. We've been praying for blessing over the Jewish people, protection over the Jewish people. We've been praying for protection over Arab Israelis.
The attack campaign was twofold. First came the negative Facebook comments.
People coming from anti-Semitic groups calling for a second Holocaust, people attacking us personally, people making threats upon us personally.
Second, the hackers spread a false narrative that Facebook created the page during the conflict and then had people like the page without their consent. Dozens of videos with thousands of views across social platforms celebrated the news that the prayer team's page was down. Al Jazeera also reported on the situation.
I'm incredibly disappointed right now, basically, that instead of these anti-Semitic people who are attacking Christians for praying for peace in Jerusalem, for praying for peace, an end of the bloodshed, and instead of stopping those anti-Semitic attacks against us, Facebook has shut our page down.
The Jerusalem Prayer Team is appealing the decision, and Evans has enlisted the help of U.S. and Israeli leaders. CBN News reached out to Facebook, and they provided us with this statement. We removed Jerusalem Prayer Team's Facebook page for violating our rules against spam and inauthentic behavior.
My prayer right now is that Facebook would start to act with, hopefully, integrity on the situation and restore our prayers. You know, in this era, the fact that your prayers could be canceled on the internet is an unimaginable thing.
Evans came to Israel to report from the front lines of the conflict as part of a television special that includes many Christian leaders.
But it's to bring solidarity for the state of Israel and to oppose the lies to the evangelicals of the world.
Evans sees the special as an effort to win the media war and counter what he says is the mainstream media believing the lies of radical Islam. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Thanks, Chris. Terry, it's stunning to think that a page or a group of people praying for peace would be shut down.
That's really true, John, but it's not the first time that we have seen conservative or Christian messages shut down or taken off, even temporarily. You know, it's unfortunate because many of us enjoy being able to follow family pictures, family information on Facebook, but this is one of the things that happens when you allow monopolies to exist, and we've got information about that coming up for you. We live in the age of information, don't we, whether you like it or not. This, friends, is the book corporate monopolies don't want you to read. That's how Republican Senator Josh Hawley describes the tyranny of big tech. And no wonder. In his new book, the senator reveals alarming facts about how the giants of big tech are tracking children online. They're swaying voters, censoring pro-life groups, silencing speech, as we just saw a few moments ago, and more. So what can be done to stop them? Well, here's Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson.
Senator Josh Hawley hopes his book brings renewed attention to the negative impacts of big tech, from monitoring young children to influencing elections worldwide.
This really started for me as a parent.
That's when Hawley realized these companies were tracking his kids and millions more.
These companies were following around the kids online and building profiles of them. And so that really led to me to getting interested in this.
As Missouri Attorney General at the time, Hawley led the charge by filing antitrust investigations against both Facebook and Google, which he says has expanded to include similar suits in all 50 states.
I think at the end of the day, monopoly power is always bad for liberty. Monopoly power is bad for free speech. And these companies have unprecedented power over speech, over our lives. And we've got to reclaim that power for us as individuals and as families.
Now a U.S. Senator, Hawley is fighting big tech on a federal level.
I think from a political point of view, we have to break these companies up.
Laying out the case in his new book, Hawley exposes his alarming discoveries.
I think they absolutely are swaying votes.
And points to why he believes big tech companies influence millions of voters, citing Hill testimony from people such as Dr. Robert Epstein.
In 2016, Google's search algorithm likely impacted undecided voters in a way that shifted at least 2.6 million votes to Hillary Clinton, whom I supported.
Epstein warned Congress that companies like Google have likely been determining the outcome of 25% of national elections worldwide since at least 2015.
Dr. Epstein, he walked through experiments that he did, analysis that he did, where he took the autocomplete suggestions on Google and just showed that in the 2016 presidential election, for instance, that if you typed in Hillary Clinton's name, the autocomplete suggestions were overwhelmingly positive. If you typed in Donald Trump's name, they were overwhelmingly negative.
Hawley also writes about a 2019 meeting with Mark Zuckerberg, where the Facebook founder and CEO apologized for censoring the pro-life group Live Action.
Currently, if that happens to you, if that happens to a Christian pro-life group, you can't do anything about it. I mean, you can ask Facebook to change their mind. You can beg them, but you don't have any rights you can enforce against them.
And from his standpoint, the tech giant has yet to make any significant change in providing accountability.
I think we ought to allow people to go to court, have their day in court. And if the companies can really defend it, if they have a good explanation, if they've followed their own terms and procedures, then they'll be fine. But if they really have singled out conservatives or people of faith, then there's going to be a problem.
Hawley believes power is in the wrong hands when companies like Facebook and Twitter police free speech in America, such as censoring people like former President Donald Trump.
The only reason people care is because Facebook is so powerful. Listen, if Facebook had a lot of competitors, then President Trump could just go to a competitor platform and say, all right, fine, forget you, Facebook. I'll go over here to this platform. The whole point is Facebook doesn't have any real competitors in this social media space. So what they do really matters because they're the only game in town for all intents and purposes.
On the Hill, is there bipartisan support for taking action to break up these tech companies?
I think there could be. I think there should be. And I think that breaking them up is where we ought to come together.
Until then, he encourages individuals and families to commit to cutting back on social media while taking a closer look at protecting their privacy.
Try to take all the steps that you can to limit the amount of information that you're voluntarily giving over to these companies. And that means spending less time online. It also means being sure to use browsers, for instance, that will help keep your data as private as possible.
Hawley believes real change is up to the voters and can only happen when they decide to stop allowing big tech to raise their kids and run their government. Reporting from Virginia, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
You know, in these scenarios, we can either complain about it and just sit and whine, or we can do something. The senator talked about taking back our rights, taking back our privileges, and getting rid of there being only one option, breaking up some of these monopolies. We want to thank Senator Josh Hawley for leading the way. I think he is beginning a charge that many of us can stand behind, and so let's do that. His book is called The Tyranny of Big Tech. Being informed is half the battle. You can find it wherever books are sold. Well, Laura Perry lived as a man for almost 9 years. Then, after hormone therapies and surgeries, she made a shocking discovery. What was it? And how did it lead Laura to walk away from her partner, her job, and her financial security? You're about to find out.
As a little girl, I was full of energy. I was very hyper. I was very athletic. I had a really hard relationship with my mom. My mom was very quiet, and my mom was much closer to my brother that was the very quiet, obedient child. And so I really began to believe that boys were loved more. I think just very early in life, began to believe a lie that, that I wasn't loved as a girl. And everything in life sort of got put through this lens of I should have been a boy. When I was 8 years old, I was molested by a boy that was only a year older than me. And that really began to change me. And I became very sexualized. I got into pornography as a middle school age. And so in high school, I was trying to be more of a girl, be more feminine to get the attention of the boys. But as I did, I began sleeping around a lot and just giving them whatever they wanted. And the more I did that, the more they just treated me like absolute trash. It was after that that I really started to run away from the Lord, and I told God that I would never serve him again. And so over the next few years in college, I got more and more into pornography. I started going all over the state just for random sexual encounters that I would find online. And it was like nothing was satisfying anymore. And so I began to remember all the fantasies I had as a child of feeling like a boy. And I said, that's the problem here. That's why I'm never happy, because I was supposed to be the man in the relationship. I began to transition. I began to take the hormones. And at first, it was the greatest thing ever. I was just on cloud 9. I started to begin to grow facial hair and began to grow a beard and sideburns, and my voice began to get lower. Even the body shape began to change a little bit. 2009, I had my name legally changed, and eventually later that year, I went to have my chest surgery and had a double mastectomy with a chest reconstruction to look like a male chest. And I thought this was the epitome of everything I'd ever wanted. Even though I was really excited about the results and I liked how it looked physically, I realized that my surgery hadn't made me a man. I was legally male, and I could look down at my license and my birth certificate and it said male. I still am the same person, just without breasts. And that was devastating to me because I really had believed that I would become a man. I had hardly talked to my parents in years, other than I would call them for an occasional birthday or something like that where I felt obligated. But one day my mom asked me to make a website for her Bible study. And I didn't have any interest in the Bible, but I thought, okay, I'll make a website for you. And as I began to read her notes, I was blown away by what I was reading. And I thought, I have never seen the Bible like this. I had always thought of the Bible as God's rule book. I called her one day and I said, Mom, you've got to explain some of this to me. And I was so curious, I called her again the next day and again the next day. And all of a sudden, I went from never talking to her to talking to her every single day. And I would call her after work, and I just couldn't wait to talk to Mom at the end of the day. And then one day, something had happened, and I don't remember what, some kind of crisis had come up in my life. And I'll never forget that day. She said, honey, you just need to trust the Lord. And I was like, I was blown away at that moment because I had never heard my mom say that. And I said, Mom, what has happened to you? You are a totally different person from the one I grew up with. And she had been so radically transformed. And it was at that moment that I knew the gospel was true, that I knew that Christ was alive, and that there was a transforming power, because I could see how my mom had just been totally changed. And so that night I prayed and I asked the Lord into my heart. But I really wanted to be a man of God, and I thought, this is great. Now I can find my identity in Christ, but I thought I could still stay as a man, because as much as I had realized I couldn't be a man, I could not face being a female. But after about a month of just crying out to the Lord night after night after night, I had a clear vision of Jesus Christ himself getting down on one knee. He reached his hand into the pit and he said, do you trust me? And so I did. I took his hand. I walked away from my entire identity, my partner, my job, my financial security, the life that I had built for myself, and left it all to follow Christ. I had made the decision to move home. My mom gave me this pile of cards from these women in her Bible study. And I said, Mom, what is this? And she said, these women have been writing cards to you. They're so proud of you. They're so excited to meet you. The next morning when I showed up at the Bible study, they surrounded me with more love and joy and hugs than I've ever felt from women in my life. They were so overjoyed at seeing their prayers of years answered. And it was at that moment that I was flooded with love from women, and I felt loved as a woman. And it was like that transgender lie just broke, and I knew I was not meant to be a man. So many transgenders I know get to a point where they realize the same thing I did, that it's not real. You can change your outward appearance, you can change your body, but ultimately you are who God created you to be, and you were put on this earth for his purpose. God loves you more than you could ever even imagine.
Boy, Laura hit the nail on the head with what she just said. We are put on earth for his purpose. Our goal, of course, the thing inside of us, the drive that we feel is, why am I here, God? Who are you? Who are you to me? What are you to be in my life? There is an enemy of God. And what do you think his goal is? His goal is to keep you from finding out why you were put here. His goal is to separate you from the one who created you. You know, life has so many things that happen to us that are unfair, that are challenging or difficult. You know, when Laura was a girl, you can understand why she would think that boys were more lovable than girls. Something as simple as that, because we have such a drive to be loved, such a drive to be accepted, can so change the way we see ourselves, change our thinking about things. But this is what the Word of God says. It says, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb and saw every day of your life. This is your Creator speaking this. You know, the one who created you with purpose, with intention. You're here for a reason. He created you to be relational with him. He created some of us female, some of us male. And when life happens and something happens inside our neediness, our soul, you know, the enemy is waiting for an entry point like that. And he comes in with what? His lies. This isn't who you really are. If you did this, you would be happier. You know, it all started in that garden years and years ago with a lie that we believed, with a choice that was made, and the consequences that followed. And yet, even then, way back then at that point, God had a plan. He had a plan for redemption, to redeem us, to take back what the enemy had stolen, and to declare us to be his, to declare us to be forgiven, to declare us to be his children, to declare us to be righteous in his sight, not because we are righteous, but because we have a Savior who was. God had a plan even in the garden, and Jesus walked that plan out so that we could be free. Today, I want to ask you, is there something in your life that you need to be free from? Maybe you're struggling with gender issues, but maybe it's not that. Maybe it's something else that's got its grip on you so much that you cannot come home to the Father heart of God, which is what you were created for. So I ask you today, are you willing to take a chance? That's what God asked Laura. Are you willing to trust me? And so I'm asking you that today. Are you willing to trust God? Are you willing to let go of all the stuff that you've tried to fill your life with, the choices you've made, the people you've hung with, the things you've done? In your heart of hearts, you have known when you've stepped over the line, and yet you've done it anyway. Today you have a chance to come home to the Father heart of God. It's real. It's legit. Jesus, this is what you say, Jesus, I have sinned, and I'm asking you to forgive me. I am lost, and I'm asking you to save me. I want to come home to you. I want to know what I was created for. I want to experience what it means to have a relationship with you. Would you come into my heart? Teach me your ways. Show me how to live for you, and fill me with the power of your Holy Spirit. And we're asking this prayer today, Lord, in Jesus' name. If that's your heart desire and you've prayed that prayer, then let us help you grow in your relationship with God, because the prayer is just the beginning. We have a packet called A New Day that's been put together just for you. We want you to have it. It's free. The call is toll-free. It's 1-800-700-7000. Just say, I'd like that New Day packet. We'll get it out to you right away.
Welcome back to Washington for the CBN News Break. Well, you can pitch a tent, build a fort, or light a fire as you tune in to Trail Life USA's National Backyard Concert and Campout. The concert will feature two-time Grammy Award-winning artist for King and Country and other special guests, all while encouraging young men to live lives that honor God. It's an event for the whole family to get together and enjoy an evening of music, fun, teaching, and nationwide fellowship with other believers around the country. You can catch Trail Life USA's Backyard Concert tonight at 9 Eastern on the CBN News Channel or on our digital platforms. Well, CBN's Operation Blessing provided hope for a desperate mother in Costa Rica. Kimberly is a single mom of 3 who worked hard to provide for her children. She wanted to be a baker, but didn't have the tools. Her dreams were shattered when she got laid off from her job because of COVID-19. Food became scarce at home and bills were left unpaid. But thanks to the support of Operation Blessing's partners, Kimberly and her children received bags of food, and they gave her the gift of a lifetime, supplies she needed to start her own baking business. She thanked Operation Blessing for being able to support her children with her own business and feeling proud of herself once again. Well, you can find out more about Operation Blessing by visiting ob.org.
Amber's family doubled in 2020. During the pandemic, this single mother of 2 daughters took in her 2 sisters. The extra mouths to feed meant every dollar had to be stretched. So how did she make it work on an airman's salary? Take a look.
U.S. Airman Amber enjoys her job at Vandenberg Air Force Base in Central California. As a single mom, raising 2 daughters on an E-4 salary isn't easy.
I did the best that I could with what I had. I did a lot of hoping and trusting God that things would be provided.
Amber's finances got even tighter when she took in her 2 sisters when the pandemic hit. Their mom had cancer and was considered high risk for infection.
The stress of having my two sisters going out places as things started to open up, she couldn't risk having them to come back and give her COVID.
Their parents helped financially, but budgeting for 2 extra kids in the house was more than Amber anticipated.
There was a lot more just mouths to feed. There was a whole bunch of other things that needed to be provided to them that I had to pay out of pocket.
Another major change in Amber's life was meeting John. Soon they married. Their finances took a hit when Amber moved off base and the couple moved into a home that would accommodate the family of 6. First and last month's rent plus security deposit exceeded what they had.
Plain and simple, we didn't have it. So it was definitely a burden, and it was something that was definitely heavily on our minds.
John and Amber took out a loan to pay for the moving expenses. They relied on their faith that they could pay it off quickly.
God definitely played a part, and our faith did play a part. The peace and comfort that God gives us as we go through struggles in our lives.
That's when their pastor with Cross Point Church asked Helping the Homefront to get involved. Pastor John Stone surprised the couple on a Zoom call with good news.
Cross Point and CBN have worked together, and we are going to reimburse you $3,000 to offset the expenses that you incurred when you brought in your sisters.
Amazing. We didn't expect anything.
How does that hit you, John? What would you say to that?
I'm still trying to process it. And wow, that's unbelievable. That's a huge, huge blessing.
It is.
And that's not all. We want to pay off the $7,000 loan so that you can start off your married life without having to be in debt.
Is this a dream?
Can you breathe, John?
Hardly.
There is a God in heaven who cares for our needs.
I don't even know what to say.
I don't either.
Nothing like this has ever happened to me.
No words can express how grateful we are.
Thanks to CBN partners, John and Amber have a fresh financial start.
Like, you guys have no idea what the church and CBN Helping the Homefront has done for us.
Now that's an opportunity to say thank you for your service, isn't it? You know, Helping the Homefront is just one of the things that CBN members make possible. That's why today we're asking you to join the 700 Club if you haven't already done that. 65 cents a day, $20 a month makes you a 700 Club member. So will you go to your phone and call right now? Our number's toll free. It's 1-800-700-7000. There are several club members for you to, membership levels for you to join at. I'm telling you about the initial club membership of 65 cents a day, $20 a month. But look at that. You could be a 700 Club Gold member at $40 a month, or join our 1,000 Club. Ask God what he'd have you to do, and then call knowing that you are changing lives here at home and all around the world with your generosity and your kindness. We say thank you in advance, and we want to say thank you right after you join by sending you God is For Us. This is Pat's latest verses of salvation, peace, and victory, all from the book of Romans, read by Pat. We think it'll be a blessing to you, even as you've decided to be a blessing to other people. So please call us now. Well, Dion DiMucci had 12 gold records, but not much else. At the height of his career, Dion felt unfulfilled. And then one day, he had a conversation with our Scott Ross. Recently, he told Scott about how that talk changed his life. Take a look.
American singer and songwriter Dion DiMucci has been rocking the music charts since the late 50s. Inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989, the 80-year-old is still making music. His recent album, Blues with Friends, features the likes of Bruce Springsteen, Paul Simon, Van Morrison, and others.
All these named people that are on this new album, and I love that title of that song, Hymn to Him. How'd you come up with that?
I just thought of it. It sounded clever, but so true, you know?
Yeah, it is.
When I go out for a walk, I'm always like singing praises to God, you know, I feel so blessed. Married 57 years. I have 3 beautiful girls and 5 grandchildren.
Dion started his career in the late 50s as a crooner with the doo-wop group The Belmonts. In 1960, he launched a solo career that brought a string of worldwide hits, including the chart-topping songs like The Wanderer and his #1 hit, Runaround Sue. But after years of struggling with drugs and alcohol addiction, his life took a drastic turn after a conversation I had with him.
We could go back historically with both of us when I think made some impression on you about Jesus, didn't I?
You said something profound to me that I've said to a lot of people since. I had 12 gold records on the wall. I was by the world standards, I was successful. But make a note here, success and fulfillment are 2 different things. So I got on my knees and I asked God for help, and he removed the obsession to drink and drugs. So I believed in God's power. I wasn't aware of his very reality. And you said to me, you know, Dion, you said, I see you believe in God. I hear what you're saying, and God is present in your life. Ask him who Jesus is. Do you trust that God that you pray to? I said, you bet. I said, you bet. You said, if you ask him for bread, you think he'll give you a stone? I said, no. He said, ask him if Jesus is his son. And I thought, thank you. You know, you trusted me, right?
Yeah.
Well, I got an answer when I asked. I didn't get an immediate answer, but I'll tell you this, Scott, I haven't been the same for over 40 years.
Dion gave his life to Jesus Christ in the late 60s.
So the Lord is in your life, you're grounded, you're rooted, but you're still in show business in so many ways. How have you been able to dance around all the trappings?
Well, once you open your heart to God and you have a relationship with him, he shapes your desire for those things.
In the decades since, Dion's music has continued to inspire with messages of togetherness and unity. One track on his new album called Here in America, A Song for Sam. It was written in response to the recent upswell of racial tensions in the U.S., but the song is inspired by a friend and fellow artist from the 60s, the late music legend Sam Cooke, a man he saw take the high road when confronted with racism.
When I saw Sam Cooke in certain situations that were really nervous to me, I walked over to him. I said, Sam, why don't you give that guy, you know, just give him one right hook, you know, knock that guy out. And he said, Dion, I wouldn't lower myself to go down. He said, you know, and he taught me, he said, Dion, racism is a peculiar way to become a man or feel that you're a man. It's peculiar. You're talking about how to share Christ with people, and change is going to come, he wrote.
Oh, yeah.
He tried to get to people through his music, through his love, through his understanding, through his friendship, and talking about God.
There's one more song on that album I need to mention, featuring Bruce Springsteen and his wife, Patti Scialfa. It's a perfect reflection of his faith in Jesus and a message of hope and healing for all. He calls it Hymn to Him.
When you came around to writing this song, Hymn to Him, we'll come back to that now. What were you thinking? I mean, the lyrics say it all. I mean, they really do.
I'll tell you, I'll read the song. It says, if the winds of disaster have blown hard through your night, and the dreams you have cherished can't begin to take flight, take his hand through the sunlight. Lift your head high above. Let your blood flow forever with the warmth of his love. Blend your life with his blessings. Drink the wine of tomorrow. Yesterday must be banished with the seeds of your sorrow. You know, you walk with God, you have this peace, everything makes sense. There was a time when I didn't know him and everything looked bleak to me, and you know, you just when you're walking with him, the world makes sense.
That's the truth, isn't it? Thanks, Scott, for that great interview. Dion's latest album, we want you to know, is called Blues with Friends. It's available now wherever music is sold. For Ryan Casey Waller, rock bottom happened when he was leading a Sunday service and he was completely drunk. If you had asked him how he was doing just the day before, he would have said fine. But after that Sunday disaster, Ryan couldn't deny it any longer. He suffered from depression and he needed help.
Ryan Casey Waller is a licensed psychotherapist, lawyer, and pastor. He also suffers from depression and anxiety. In his book, Depression, Anxiety, and Other Things We Don't Want to Talk About, Waller not only shares his struggles with mental illness, but he also examines the intersection of biology, psychology, and spirituality, reminding us all that hope starts now.
Ryan Casey Waller joins us now via Skype. Ryan, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are a pastor and a psychotherapist who's also struggled with mental illness. You know, a lot of people deny that any of that is happening in their lives because they think it's shameful and they don't seek help. What led you to seek help?
I sought help because ultimately my pain got to the point where I needed to. You know, oftentimes with depression and anxiety, what can make it so difficult is we don't know when the pain is going to end. And so when it gets bad enough, we begin to not be able to imagine a future for ourselves. And I was really at that place the first time my depression came around. It got so bad that I couldn't envision what life was going to look like if I had to go on dealing with the kind of pain that I was dealing with. And so it was at that point I thought, I really need to avail myself to what else is out there. And that was the first time that I sought the care of a therapist and then ultimately also the use of medication.
You know, this pandemic that we're in has isolated people for long stretches of time. Has that exacerbated the mental health crisis?
Oh, it absolutely has. You know, one of the worst parts about suffering from depression and anxiety is that your brain tells you that A, nobody has ever felt as bad as you felt, and that B, there's nobody that can understand how it is that you're feeling. And what's happened during the pandemic, as we've been pulled apart and separated from one another, anyone who was already experiencing some of those feelings, if they don't have a strong support network or other people around them, those feelings have only intensified. And for people who have gone into the pandemic, not already struggling with their mental health, many of them have begun to experience these same feelings of feeling isolated and not connected. You know, one of the primary things we know that we need as human beings is connectedness to other people. It was the only thing in the beginning of the Bible that God said wasn't good, that man was alone. So we desperately need one another. And so it's absolutely made these issues more difficult.
You talk about 3 tools in your book that help people who struggle: therapy, medication, and other people. How does all of this work and why so important?
Yeah, it's so critical, especially for Christians, because oftentimes we feel like if we avail ourselves to the resources in the mental health community, that's somehow an indictment of our faith, that we didn't believe enough. And what I want Christians to know is that mental health suffering is just like any other kind of suffering. You know, God doesn't promise to relieve our suffering, but to fill our suffering with his presence. And so one of the ways that we can do that, if we're struggling, is to avail ourselves to these 3 tools. They're not going to work for everyone, but in most cases, one, if not all 3, are going to be helpful. So the first is psychotherapy, to availing yourself to a professional, to go and to sit down with a therapist, somebody who's trained to listen to you, to diagnose, to understand what's going on, and then serve you in a way that is only in your best interest. So there's therapy and there's tremendous benefits to that. Then there are also cases for which depression and anxiety are biological. And so for many people, just the introduction of some sort of psychotropic medication can significantly reduce the symptoms that they're having. Now, hear me out. There is no medication that can cure mental illness. But oftentimes when we combine medication with psychotherapy, we can see a dramatic reduction in the symptoms, improved health. But then thirdly, and this is often overlooked, is the value of a really good community. An addiction psychiatrist told me once that if he can just get his patients plugged into a community where they know people and they are known by others, then half the battle is won. We're talking about people who are seriously ill. I said, you're telling me that the people who have a life or death addiction, they have a significant better chance of getting better if they just have a friend? And he said, yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. So I often encourage people, if you're struggling, avail yourself to a therapist to see if that's helpful to you. Talk to your doctor, potentially about medication, and find a community where you can know people and they can know you so you can not face this alone.
Sometimes, Ryan, when someone is physically ill, you can see what they're struggling with, and so your compassion and your understanding just automatically come. But often with mental illness, I think people feel frustrated. What can those of us who know someone who's struggling with depression or mental illness, how do we help them handle that?
Yeah, that's a great question. The best thing that we can do is simply not be afraid to ask the question and do it in a non-judgmental way. So if you sense that someone is struggling, ask them, are you feeling depressed? Don't be afraid to even ask, are you considering hurting yourself? Do you want to die? Yeah. A lot of times we are frustrated because we don't ask the questions because we're scared if we do, we don't know what to do. If they say yes, just be there.
We've run out of time, so I'm going to send people to your book. It's Depression, Anxiety, and Other Things We Don't Want to Talk About. It's available nationwide where books are sold. We want to leave you with this word from Philippians, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Thank you for being with us today. Enjoy your weekend. God bless you.